Ah, I love that music. I love Tuesday nights. I love meeting with you every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on our little club, our kind of wonderful Tuesday evening get together of fountain pen aficionados. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I see all the thumbs up going. Thank you so much for that. It helps. It helps to let YouTube know that we're here, which is a lot of fun too. We're going to have a pretty interesting night. There's a lot to talk about. A lot going on in my life. A lot going on with fountain pens. Some really fun stuff came into the studio, which is a lot of fun as well. So very, very interesting things to speak about this evening. So I think you'll enjoy it. I am sure of it. So if you haven't been here before, we meet every Tuesday night and we discuss fountain pens, inks, journals, and journaling, and just about everything and anything that has to do with fountain pens and things that keep you inspired, keep you writing, keep you centered. There's a lot of things to cover. We go a lot of different places, so it's a lot of fun. Also, I should mention that there is membership for the channel available. If you're interested, you want to support us and keep the lights going and keep me inspired. We have a lot of fun with Cognoscenti and Illuminati members. We have a pen pal group, and it's really a blast. So we do quite a bit with that as well. So lots of fun here. So tonight, the main topic is about gold nibs and sort of the concept of whether or not you need a gold nib, whether or not it's worth it, and where I come down on it, which might surprise a lot of you. And it probably is no surprise that a lot of this is dynamic. So sometimes I am very, very strongly feeling in one camp, and then suddenly I realize that I feel differently, and something happened recently which pushed me in a surprising direction. Surprising indeed. And anytime there's sort of a major shift in my life or my fountain pen life, I like to share it with you because I feel like there's just so much to discuss in this hobby. There's so much more to it than just a fountain pen. I think there's some of us who view fountain pens only in themselves as a tool, something to accomplish a task, and they might learn about it and learn about its features and its dimensions and its weight and what it can do, and they leave it at that, which is fine. And I've done that at different times in my collecting journey, but lately, I've been going much deeper. I've been going into the history, the heritage, trying to learn as much as I can about the designers of these magnificent pens and bringing as much of that as I can into this channel, which is a lot of fun. It helps me to enjoy it even more. It makes them that much more captivating. And I feel personally, if you're going to spend the kind of sums we spend for these fountain pens, and certainly I never advise anyone to spend beyond their means. I think a major rule, and I have very few rules, so let's not call it a rule, let's call it a guideline. But a major guideline is to try to never put a pen on credit. It's kind of more something you save for. And then once you purchase it, there's no more consideration of price. So all the price grief is up front, where you're thinking, wow, that pen's $700. Should I buy it? And you do. And then that should be the pain. It should stop there. It shouldn't then come with an interest rate after the fact. That's a personal belief. So I try not to buy anything with credit as a banker, except that I use my American Express card to buy everything, because then I get a bunch of points and I use it for stuff. But to me, it's just an interim step to paying for it with cash. But I don't like to go into debt. I don't go out further than 30 days as a guideline. So I have to recognize the wonderful and amazing Marcus Souza with $20. Thank you so much. He says, good night, everyone. Speaking in Pen Pal group, soon my letters will go. Yes. Well, Marcus, I'm glad you bring that up. Let's talk a quick minute about the Pen Pal group and any kind of correspondence you may have in your own life. I personally feel that when you're writing someone through the mail, it should be very deliberative. It shouldn't necessarily be rushed. And it doesn't deserve I shouldn't say deserve. It doesn't require an immediate answer normally, unless the news is of a nature that it does. I feel like it's nice to chew over a letter, to give it a little bit of time. And if you're busy, I've been very, very busy in my professional career lately, and it's really kind of reduced my bandwidth for YouTube activities. It's a little harder and harder to edit on nights and weekends when I sort of just want to refresh myself for the next work week. But I do get so much satisfaction out of this. I really enjoy it. I'm editing an incredible video now. I'll mention it to you guys a little bit. But I just feel like with letters, you write people when you can. You shouldn't feel any kind of pressure. I have a stack of probably 20 letters behind me I definitely need to get to. But I know that people understand, and when they get a letter from me, they're always very appreciative. I love getting letters from them, and I like to take my time. I don't want to just rush through them. So I think one of these Tuesday nights, I'm going to speak about sort of the art of correspondence a bit more. We've touched on it before, and get into some of those concepts and just sort of enjoy it. So Marcus, thank you so much. Marcus Souza is always so generous to the channel. I'm going to put this up again. Thank you so much, Marcus, for helping out. You're a big part of this channel. Thank you so much, my friend. Speaking of people who are a big part of this channel, and I'm under a little bit of a limitation tonight. I'm trying to figure it out while we roll. But I bought a new phone. So I bought the new iPhone 16 Pro, and I got a cute picture of Emmy on it. I don't know if you guys can see. There she is. So I got Emmy on there in Washington from the DC Pen Show. So this phone is going to help the channel in a big way because it can do so much more than my other phone. The camera is upgraded. I don't know if you know this, but this entire channel is done on this phone, except for the live shows, which are done through my MacBook Pro, obviously, because I'm holding the phone. But this phone is my second camera, and it's supposed to sync automatically, but my old phone is still in the house before it goes back to Apple, and it's synced with that. And Ecamm is probably the worst streaming platform I could possibly imagine. It's like the least user-friendly, and it's just a torture every time I try to do something. So I can't get my second camera going, even though it shows up on the menu, but when I hit it, it just doesn't show up. So we're going to just wing it when it comes to showing you things on the single camera. But just another word on this. I have so much more macro I can do. You're going to get extreme close-ups of nibs like I've never been able to do before. In fact, I'm going to have to put them on a platform to get the details because my hands, the closer you zoom in, the more you can see any sort of shake with your hands. And it's not just that my hands shake, they shake a little bit, but it's also that everybody's do. But that's really cool. It's also lighter. So when my wife is filming B-roll out in the field, she'll be able to sort of stabilize it a bit better. I've always had trouble with the bigger. I had the Pro Max, and I drop it on my face sometimes, and it's really hard to use it with a thumb. This you can use with your thumb. It also has this really nifty feature on the side. I feel like I'm doing an Apple commercial. Forgive me, but this is very channel focused. If I hit this button on the side here, I think it's this button. There you go. it goes, oh, look, you can see, it goes right into camera mode. So you can very quickly pick up some footage on the run. And this holds a terabyte. So it should be good for the channel. Just not very good for the live show right now because Ecamm is miserable. And it's supposed to act just like my old phone, but not with Ecamm. It hates me. Simply Hobbs says donate on Ecamm. You know, Hobbs, I wish I didn't, but it just every time it just betrays me. Every time I try to do something, it's very, very tough. But then I am a bit technologically challenged. I've had some issues lately. I'll mention them to you. I had the weirdest experience. So let me kind of lay out what I'm going to do. So I want you guys to stay engaged. I want to get into our main topic very, very early. So I'm going to jump into it in about 5 minutes. First, what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of really cool things that came into the studio this week, and we have a giveaway. So I'm going to start with the giveaway. And then after the giveaway, we're going to show you some other stuff. And then we'll get into our main topic, okay? I'm moving a lot of things. You could see it in the other camera, but Ecamm won't let me, Hobbs. Okay. It's Hobonichi time. Hobonichi Techno 2025. Isn't this lovely? So we have a wonderful member of the channel community who chooses to remain completely anonymous, but I think every year donates one of these for me to give away. I am not very good at giveaways, guys. I never know how to set rules or anything else, but I do love to do them. I should really do some more. But I'd love to give this away to someone. What I'd like to do is email me. My email's on the homepage here on YouTube, and just simply tell me why I should give it to you. And that would make it easy. And then I'll choose somebody who has the most compelling reason. But I'd love to get this out in the world. Thank you so much to the lovely person who donated it to the channel. Thank you. These are lovely books. They're a lot of fun. This is the Techno 2025 in English with a 24-hour timetable, 3.7 millimeter gridded paper, a secret line to separate schedules from notes. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. A daily quote from articles on the Hobonichi Itoi Shinbun website. That's brilliant. I have no idea what that means. And 12 colored tabs. Monday start mini calendar. So keep you a little organized with class and style. I hear wonderful things about these. As you can tell, I don't know much about them, but I do hear great things. I'm very sort of stuck in my box on the papers I use. I use certain things for the channel, and then I journal in my Bottega Obscura. So I'm branching out myself in regards to paper. Onion skin journal, for instance. That large format onion skin journal, oh, it's exquisite. I can't wait to use that. But anyway, would you like to win this? Email me. Say hello, and just let me know why I should give it to you. Because I'd love to give it away. Okay? Thank you so much, anonymous person. You have my sincere thanks. It's a wonderful gesture to you guys. So thank you. Okay. So, I got a couple more things to show you before we get to the main topic. And then I have some wild stories for you. Wild stories about my week, my toe, trying to fit into shoes. I had the great shoe journey this week. So lots of stuff. I wish I had a producer. I have no show notes this evening. It's probably why I'm a little bit all over the place. But I think I'm better off the cuff, to be honest. So I found this recently. Super fun. It's a magnifying glass that's rather old. It's got a wooden handle. The reason I know it's old is because I bought this when I was around 12 years old or so. So somewhere around 1980. I bought this at the Pennsauken Mart. The Pennsauken Mart no longer exists, but once upon a time, it was a fantastic place. It had a flea market outside and really cool stores inside, including one of the best Philly pretzel places you're likely ever to encounter. Luckily, that survives. That moved up the road about 3 minutes, but the Pennsauken Mart is long gone, but I have this. And why is this significant? It's just charming. It's very dark academic, and I just found it. I cleaned it up. By found it, I mean found it in my stuff, and you're going to see it on the channel. I'm trying to match up the rings. Did you notice that? Look at this. It's not that easy because everything's reversed. Ooh, look at that. The rings are in sync. So you'll see this on the channel. I thought it was cool. But here's really cool. Robin Pennell, who sent the Indiana Jones Grail Diary. You guys know I love skulls. Yorick is here. Hi, Yorick. Yorick is behind the camera, but he is here. But Yorick has a friend. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Isn't this gorgeous? Love it. A couple other skulls came in. I bought this one too recently. Did I ever show you guys this? It's in B-roll sometimes. Very realistic. But I love this because it's larger. It's very colorful. It's got a bit of iridescence about it. I think this will show up in a lot of B-roll. But Robin, thank you. This is gorgeous. I adore it. Thank you for sending that. Super exciting. Now, this is where she really outdid herself. And Robin, forgive me, I didn't read your letter yet. I literally opened this 5 minutes before the show. So if I'm missing any details, forgive me. I just haven't had a chance to read. So, but very cool, right? Super cool to do that. And guys, what do you think of that skull? What do you think of it compared to Yorick? I got to get Yorick now. Sorry for getting so close. Forgive me. It's Yorick. And then, does anybody have a name? Can you put in the chat or the comments maybe a name for the new skull? I love them. So cute. We love Yorick too. Don't get jealous, Yorick. Yorick is heavy. Okay. So this is where Robin really outdid herself. I'm just going to show it to you, and then I'm going to tell the story briefly for those that don't know it. Do you guys know what this is? And there's 3 of them. My daughter saw these and claimed one. And then she said that everyone in the house could have one because there's 3 of us. Our little band apart. So, do you guys know what these are? Robin's so thoughtful, so awesome. So these are ghost cats. Are you familiar with my ghost cat? We have a ghost cat in the house. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything supernatural. I believe in only things I can touch and measure with scientific instruments. Otherwise, to me, doesn't exist. Nevertheless, the ghost cat that lives in this house refuses to conform to my theories of reality. So, what can I do? I was thinking there's a quote, and there's more that beneath heaven and hell than are dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio. So, I guess there are ghost cats under heavens and hells. But, so, the presence of a cat wanders around my house, usually in the dark, and my wife seems to feel it too, and at the same exact moment. That's what's so weird about it. There's times we're lying in bed, and we're like, oh, Ophelia just jumped in the bed. And then we both look and there's no Ophelia. It's just us. Sometimes we feel it walking across us. Sometimes it brushes up against our leg when we're using the restroom. And there's nothing there. So that is my ghost cat that's in the house. And now I have a commemorative ghost cat. 3 of them, actually. I'm not sure which one's cutest. I quite like this one. But this one is definitely a cat. This one feels more cat. I mean, it's a cat too, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Which one's cuter? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. So that's my life, ghost cats and all. So pretty exciting stuff. Forgive me, need a little tasty beverage. Green tea tonight. Cold green tea. All right, I'm going to get into the main topic, but then I have some super funny things and interesting things to talk about later. Before I get into the main topic, I'm going to get to some comments here in the chat. Robert Koch asked, does a ghost cat push things over the edge? It's hard to tell which cat does that, to be honest, but certainly things fall. Hard to know. Wolf Kate Witch says I should name the ghost cat. I like ghost cat, I think. Hopefully it doesn't mind. It's definitely a nice cat. It doesn't scratch or hiss, or it's not a malevolent feeling thing that we're imagining. It seems to be very, very sweet. Very sweet. Okay. Let's see. This comment's too big to read, but David Parson says, the Dallas Pen Show is this Friday. Did I say too big to read? I meant it's too long to post into the screen. Forgive me. David E. Parson says, the Dallas Pen Show is this Friday and Saturday at the Doubletree Gallery in Dallas. It's a very good show with a lot of variety and also famous pens for kids program on Saturday in the morning. So catch that if you can. Thank you, David, for letting us know. And if you're in the Texas area, the amazing state of Texas. I've only been in Texas once. I did a layover in Dallas. And even at the airport, the barbecue was fantastic at the airport. So I feel overdue for Texas. I would certainly love to go there. Troy Stanley says, how do you know it's a cat? Very simply, Troy, I have a cat. And when you have a cat, you get aware of what a cat feels like when a cat's around, so you know how your cat feels when it brushes up against your leg. And then when it brushes against your leg, you think it's your cat, and then you look down and there's no cat. Or you think your cat's in the bed and it's not a cat. So it's definitely a cat. Tom Morley, who's a very lovely person, we love Tom, says Pelican Hub on Friday. That's super exciting. I need to go to a Pelican Hub. I am kind of a Pelicanista now. I couldn't say that last year so much. Last year, I only had a Pelican M200. Oh, I also had an M600, didn't I? Well, okay. So now I have an M800 and M1000. Go figure. And Pelicans are becoming more and more a presence on this channel. So very, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about Gold Nibs. It's kind of a kind of an idea. We go round and round and round. And I have to say that there's this idea of whether or not steel nibs are better or gold nibs, and which I prefer and why. Okay, and it sort of goes something like this. There's a part of me that resents how expensive the higher end pens are. And I feel like it's a little bit futile to bemoan that fact. To say that a certain pen isn't worth it and they charge whatever they charge. I probably would say with a fair degree of confidence that whatever pen there is probably cost about 10% of its price to manufacture or less. And certainly many of the luxury pens, that might be inflated further because they can. The price of entry for Mont Blanc is like, what's the lowest? The lowest fountain pen is probably a 144 or one of the, I think the Star Walker. I always want to say Skywalker, Star Walker, right? Can somebody in the comments let me know? It's a Star Walker, right? They I think they're around 5 or 6. So that's kind of your entry level for them. And they have all that upside for their brand, for all that marketing. I mean, you open the New York Times, Mont Blanc's all over it. They do ads on all the social media platforms. Maybe they do on television. I don't know. I'm one of those weirdos that don't watch television. I haven't watched a television commercial in years. I just don't watch them. I watch streaming. That's all. That's not so abnormal, I suppose. But all that and all that contained. So I think it's sort of unconscionable in a way how expensive these things are, but that's the price of entry, and certainly you don't want to put that money out unless it's disposable income for you. And luxury brands make a lot of promises, and they do often deliver them. They do. But it's definitely at an inflated price. I'm thinking for a second of Rolex. Rolex used to claim that it takes them a year to make a Rolex watch. And if you were to take how many units that Rolex sells a year estimated, because they don't publish these things public, because Rolex is actually a not-for-profit, which is really interesting. If I'm not mistaken, it's sort of the Swiss equivalent of a not-for-profit. And it, they say it takes a year to make one, but they sell, I forget, but let's, for argument's sake, can we just agree on 800,000 units or 600,000 units? And then you divide that by how many people they would need. It would be campuses. It'd be a city full of workers making these things. And I know what they mean by that is that there's certain processes and all that, but it's just incredulous. You know, it's sort of like Dior. The Dior book bag. Is it the book tote? Have you ever seen the Dior book tote? Now, I know way too much about women's purses than any normal guy has any reason to. But I mean, I don't want to say normal. That's not right. I mean, you know, I'm strangely obsessed with women's purses for whatever reason. I think I just kind of admire their artistry when they have it. And the book tote is cool. I don't want to be hard on myself and call myself abnormal. But the book tote is the one that's designed literally for putting books into it. And they have this fantastic ad campaign where interesting, famous people go into bookstores and pick their favorite books, which I usually hate that kind of advertising, but it's very well done. And it's sort of the type of video I'd like to make for myself for the channel. But here's the thing. It looks like a tapestry. They make it seem like someone's weaving it by hand and you can get it for $3,000. But it's a tote bag. But if it were woven by hand and tied like in some sort of Persian rug tradition, maybe that makes some kind of sense. But alas, that's not what happens. What happens is that there are vast warehouses located in Italy where they use illegal migrant immigration. They pay them subsistence dollars to make it, and it costs $57 to make a Dior book tote that is sold. Actually, forgive me, it's not dollars, it's euro. 57 euro for a book tote that sells for 2,800 euro. That's quite an inflation and very unconscionable. So is there some of that going on in the pen world? Possibly, though I have no proof of it, but that's kind of how the luxury world works. Let me take a moment to thank Michael Rowley. $9.99 from Michael Rowley. No shout out needed. I have some non-gold nibs Esterbrooks that write amazing. Too late, Michael Rowley. I have shouted you out. And publicly thank you, because you're lovely for donating that. Thank you so much. Michael Rowley makes an excellent point. He has some non-gold nibs from Esterbrook, as do I. My Esterbrook J's, which are a vintage pen with a steel nib from the 50s, and they're brilliant. And they're usually can get them for about $35. Lever filled, very nice pen, writes fantastic. So getting back to the story at hand. Steel nibs, I think the delta between performance for steel versus gold is very much narrowing. If you have certain criteria, if your criteria are smoothness, reliability, no false starts, then steel nibs can stand toe-to-toe with gold nibs. Where gold nibs start to excel, though, and where I am sort of really falling on the gold nib side, and sometimes it's a bit of all that glitters is gold, because the moment I realized how I feel about this, I was filming the nib of a Jinhao X159 in extreme close-up, and that is a pretty nib, my friends. I'm sure you realize that. It is a beautiful stunner of a nib. But it's not gold, right? It says it's gold, but I don't have the tester, the gold tester. I should get one. There's some tools I need for the channel. I need a scale that weighs things in fractions of a gram. I need calipers so I can measure pens, because I don't always trust what I'm being told, and I rely on what's posted, but I go to different sites and you'd be amazed the variation in a pen. Try that sometimes. Pull up the specs at different pen retailers or even at the manufacturer versus your favorite pen retailer like Atlas Stationers, who's probably my favorite pen retailer. Certainly dear to my heart, and I have a discount code, HJ10. You get 10% off. The channel gets nothing, but it's a gift to you. So, and subscribe if you've made it to this point. So, those kind of things I'd like to make sure they're accurate, or at least test for myself. But the same with gold. Is it real gold? It's glittering. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it. That is my thing. So, Steve Ruckle says, my Visconti Mythos is awesome. The Mythos has a great nib. I actually have a Homo sapiens here. I would have been able to show it to you in close-up, but we'll just have to make do. Beautiful rose gold nib. Actually, absolutely gorgeous. Very smooth, very free-flowing, but these can also have quality control issues. As you probably know, it's a pen you want to speak to your pen retailer about before you purchase. Make sure they pull a good one for you. Atlas Stationers will do that for you. I know that Gold Spot and the great Tom Otto will do that as well. So do that. Gorgeous, though. Beguiling. A beautiful burst. Lovely rendering. And that's one of the things that really seduced me about the Jinhao, is you have that beautiful, I don't know, is it a chariot? But it's that gorgeous nib and very well rendered, even though we know it's gold plated, but we love it. Here, this something similar. Here, the Mont Blanc Around the World in 80 Days, a pen you're going to see on the channel very, very soon. Wait until you see the video I'm writing for this. It's epic. It's got a balloon on the nib. Absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to show it to you closer. You'll see it in the video, but this just beguiling and beautiful. And I'm not just ranting here. There's a method to my madness, I'm going to tell you. Once again, the Mont Blanc Egyptomania, one of my favorite pens, has an Egyptian scarab on it. Absolutely gorgeous. Love this. So, what gold does is it affords you a certain strangeness that steel is harder to replicate. Gold has certain spring-like qualities, certain bendable qualities. This is the Aqualine nib of the Pilot E95S. You're going to see a whole ode to Pilot soon coming up on the channel because I adore Pilot. I think you guys know that. This is a very interesting nib. One of the least expensive gold nibs. If you want to try what a gold nib can afford you, you don't get line variation with this. You get super smoothness with a bit of bounce if you give it a little bit of pressure. I know you try not to, but occasionally you do, especially when you're signing your name. But a beautiful experience, lovely, lovely pen. A pen I do post. It'd be ridiculous not posting this. But that's, to me, what's interesting about gold. Here's another one. This was my pen today at work. And you're going to see a whole video on this one. I think you'll love it. This is the Pilot Vanishing Point, or as I like to call it, because they call it also the Pilot Capless LS. So this one, you push and the nib comes out, and then you turn and the nib goes home. So very exquisite, very well done. So this has a similar nib as the Pilot Vanishing Point. In fact, similar enough to be identical. And it has the same springiness and just the joy and smoothness of that nib. Very, very nice. I actually have my Vanishing Point here. So this is Black Noir. Big difference between these two, by the way. This one feels a bit more basic, lighter, and a little bit more hollow than the other. Has a little bit of heft and presence. But same exact nib. Not as decorative, and it doesn't have the luxury silent mechanism. This is the Click Monster, which is super fun. I call this my Click Monster. But if you're in a meeting and you're like, if you're like Alan Cumming in GoldenEye and you're clicking your pen, James Bond's looking nervously like, all right, how many times did he click it? How many times? And I always try to count the times because I think you had to click it twice, right? And it armed it and then disarmed it. And I can never keep up. I don't know how Bond kept up, and I hope you guys are keeping up. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? I hope so. Feel free to let me know in the comments. So this is fantastic. I love fiddling with this, but if you're in a meeting, you're in the boardroom, and you're presenting, and the CEO is going to look at you if you're nervously tapping away like Alan Cumming in GoldenEye. However, you could do this because you're not going to hear it. It's very quiet. Very quiet. Luxury silent. So a lot of fun there. So here's some other amazing nibs that gold just gives a quality to like no other. The very long nib of the Pelican M1000. Look at the size of this monster pen. I love this pen. I compare this to the M800 coming up very, very soon. In fact, this week we have a video. And it's on the Pilot Custom 823. And it's a series. You remember it for the Mont Blanc 149? Is it worth it? 5 reasons why the Pilot Custom 823 is worth every penny, and 5 reasons why there's no way it's worth as much as it cost. That's coming this Thursday, so I think you'll like it. Here's another brilliant gold nib, the Mont Blanc 147 Traveler. A brilliant pen in burgundy. Did a beautiful trade for this one with a viewer. Thank you again so much. Just absolutely brilliant. Lovely. I hope she's happy with what she has. I really am. This is the Cartier Diablo. Has sort of an undersized nib. I believe it's a Mont Blanc nib. Smooth as polished ice. Such a joy to write with. Very beautiful with the Cartier C on there. And then this is the Mont Blanc 149. I just pulled out some selections. That gorgeous classic nib. Look, it's empty. It's rarely empty, this pen, so drink that in. Gorgeous. Look at that. Love this nib. So gold is just a little bit more interesting, especially when you get into things like the Piniter Quill nib and the Pelican M1000, the heritage nibs like the Mont Blanc Egyptomania that are super soft. Just gold gives it a quality, and not the least to mention the Magna Carta Mag 600 and Mag 650 nibs, which are very, very flexible, all because they're gold. Gold gives them that capability. And here's a fact you might not know. When Hiron made the Magna Carta Flex series, he had 2,000 nibs made, and he put them on the 600 and the 650, and they're all the same nibs. He still has some nibs left on the initial run. So if you're ever curious about if there's any difference, they're the exact same nibs. And I got that from him at the DC Pen Show. So pretty fascinating stuff. So where am I coming down on this? Gold nibs, guys. I'm seduced right now. I'm into different. I'm into curious. I'm into something that's not a repetition. I'm really kind of bored of Yovo nibs. I want something that is a unique expression of something. I want something that an artisan has touched. Something a little different. And that you get more of that with a gold nib. So that's where I'm coming down right now. So, all right, so let me get into some other stories too. Now that we've settled that, until my opinion swings the other way and I'm coming back at you and telling you how it's Eric Linneman had a bad experience with the quill nib. Really, mine is brilliant. Although it has no line variation, Eric. No line variation, but it's flexy. It's so fun to write with. But mine is smooth and just flows beautiful. So, I need to... Eric also says I need to hunt down the bespoke Sailor nibs. Sailor and I just don't get along yet. I don't have a frame of reference for him, but I'd like to add them. So perhaps I will. All right, so let me run through some other stuff that's going on that's kind of fun and interesting. I've woven in this narrative this evening about all the different pen videos that I'm editing. There are some brilliant ones coming up, if I can be immodest for a reason. And by brilliant, I just mean editing wise. Whether or not my scripts are good or my dialogue, I think I'm getting better as a presenter. I'm working on it. I do occasionally pronounce words 3 different ways in the span of one video, and it's frustrating even for me when I'm editing. But a lot of interesting comparisons. There's a dark academic video coming up, and I actually have another dark academic video in mind, so that will be following too. There's a few more interesting series that we're starting. I'm trying to lure Helen back to the channel because there's enough new pens since the last cool or not cool video that I feel like she could make a really strong contribution. But she's kind of resigned from the channel, but I'm trying to get her back. So Tom Morley says that his magnetic cap on his Piniter makes a nib dry out. That's a shame. Yeah, that doesn't happen to me. But that would frustrate me if it did. It certainly would. So I think I told you that I was hit with gout last week, and I still have it. But I'm coming off of it. And what makes it kind of interesting is that all week I have been digging deep into my closet to find shoes that I can fit into. So no exaggeration, last week, oh, I have them. I actually have them here. Last week, I wore my my fuzzy slippers. These are my fuzzy winter slippers. This is what I wore to the office because I couldn't get my foot in anything else. So there you have it. So I went through odd shoes I bought 20 years ago and still had. Ended up with this walking shoe from Bourne that's super wide. Not the most pleasant experience wearing a shoe right now, but I'm coming out of it. But here's the thing too. I looked at all the causes of this, and I don't really do any of the major causes, but I do eat way too much sugar. So people always, the medication doesn't work for me, sadly, Eric. I tried it. It had a horrible effect on me that I can't repeat in polite company. So Jennifer saw my bowling shoes. Yeah. They were kind of like bowling shoes. Those were shoes I bought in Venice, and I just thought they looked funky when I was younger. I bought them like 20 years ago, but I still have them. And they were very wide, so they fit my foot, and they're very soft. They kind of remind me of like boxing shoes, but I could see bowling shoes or maybe like race car driving shoes. Whichever. Ooh, here's some words for Helen. Helen is great. I'd like to get her back on the channel, certainly. But the Bourne walking shoes are really wide. They're like right here in the study. So that's been a bit of an issue. And another thing that happened last week is my Jeep died. So my poor Jeep, which I adore, I was driving back from lunch with 2 work colleagues, and it just stopped. And every emergency indicator was going off. Transmission warning, 4-wheel drive failure, engine failure. Check your wiper fluid. Whatever it was flashing. My gear shifter was just flashing. And sometimes sort of in a really pretty reverse neutral drive pattern. It has a twister for a gear shifter. So my Jeep is a hybrid. And I don't think that makes it any more or less susceptible to issues. But there's certainly more going on in it, so there's probably more that can break. And I have all the warranties and things going out 10 years because it's a hybrid. But so I have 2 work associates, and I am literally dead on an exit ramp of a Massachusetts highway, just coming off, off the exit ramp into the street, blocking traffic. And I can't get it, I can't shut it off. I felt like I could just sort of reboot the car, but it wouldn't shut off. And it wouldn't go into gear. And it was very, very frustrating. Then the police showed up, very polite, very nice, local, and where my office was. And he was like, you really have to get this car off the road. And I said, I'd very much like to, but I can't get it into gear. So then they called a tow truck. I've never seen a tow truck come that quickly. If you're in the Framingham area, by the way, Exceptional Auto, that's who you want to use. Fantastic professional job. They showed up like 5 minutes. It was probably more like 10. But the whole time I'm trying to figure out like what to do. I can't put it in gear. I'm sitting there, I have these 2 work associates, and I'm like, this has never happened before. But then I'm like, okay, we'll call the police. Police came. And then they called the tow truck. And then I sent my associates back to the office. I said, you guys might as well go. It's right there. And then they flatbedded the Jeep, and it was gone. And then my wife and daughter came and rescued me from my office later that afternoon. And it turns out it was a sensor. It was this sensor that goes into the transmission. And it was telling it was in park when it was in drive, and drive when it was in park. So, yeah, like a man says, where is the Jeep's Control-Alt-Delete? That's what it felt like. It felt like it needed a hard start, but it was this sensor that failed. So they, Brigham Gill in Natick, Massachusetts, once again, the service there, extraordinary. They took such good care. They changed the oil. They fixed everything. And I had it back in a day and a half. which I was very pleased. But my new iPhone wasn't talking to it, so I had to re-add it. So more technology woes for me. It's not just Ecamm that hates me. It's also any technology. Robin Pennell. It's Ghost Cat taking a ride underneath. I hope Ghost Cat never leaves. Here Steve Ruckle says, I know you love your Jeep, but you know what it is, Steve? There's only certain cars I would drive. So I've been driving Jeeps since the early 90s, just one after the other. And I just feel very comfortable with them. And if I were to get another car, it would just be another Jeep, or it would be a Range Rover or a Land Rover. That would be the only other car that I can see myself in. And I was going to buy one, but my wife is English and she forbade me to buy a Rover because you think it's bad that a Jeep dies. Rovers are in the shop like monthly, and they're not inexpensive to fix either. So they're expensive fixes and they're in the shop. Jeeps are cheap to fix, and my Jeep is awesome. It's not its fault. Besides, I take it in stride, you know? It's down, you get a loaner car, you pick it up when it's ready. What are you going to do? But it's back now. It's very pretty. It's very clean. It's red. I'm pleased. So very good. Eric, I'd be honest. You know, Ford Bronco is an alternative, but have you heard the horror stories on the Ford Bronco? I mean, they make the Jeeps look like they're, you know, the most reliable car. I mean, TikTok had just a relentless streak of just all the awful things that happened to Ford Bronco. It's like the Cybertruck in reliability. So that's the problem. And I had friends with really bad cars. JR Diaz, maybe upgrade to a Land Rover. I was just talking to you. Land Rovers are 100 times worse than Jeeps. Land Rovers are literally the most unreliable cars on the road. In many surveys, they are the least reliable and one of the most expensive to fix. So there you go. There you have it. Mr. Charon says, this is interesting. I was a Land Rover service manager once. We had a saying, on a cold, quiet night, you can hear them brake. Thanks for that. It's true, sadly, because there's something so romantic about a Land Rover, you know? I mean, I feel that way about Jeeps too. I just love them and always have, and it just doesn't bother me that much. Cars break. All cars break, especially new ones. There's so much going on in them. So much. But, you know, what are you going to do? You just have to roll with these things. I love my new skull. I can't wait to look through the chat and the comments to see which names you came up for him. He's kind of Crystal Skull. Indiana Jones might go after this one. It's very, very cool. Like a man says Subaru. I wouldn't be comfortable in a Subaru. They're just not me, you know. I don't drive cars. I avoid cars. I'm 6'2". I'm not very comfortable in cars. I'm comfortable in trucks. Truck-sized things. So SUVs are my speed. So Howard Skull. I kind of like Howard Skull. Why does that make sense? I don't know, but I like it. Howard Skull's kind of... I like Howard. I don't know. Like Mo Howard. You guys know Mo Howard? I love Mo Howard. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a night. This went so fast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Super fun doing this show each week, spending some time talking about pens and my thoughts. A great video this week on whether or not the Pilot Custom 823 is worth $335. There's no way it's worth that much. Sure, of course it's worth that much. What are you talking about? So I have an argument with myself, which is super fun. So thanks for all your likes. Thanks for all your support. If you've made it this far, I think you have to subscribe. It's the rules. I don't make it up. but it is a rule, so please hit the subscribe button. And if you're very much motivated and you want to support the channel even more, consider membership. Love to have you on this journey with us. We go to amazing places all the time. So there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I promise you we will see each other again very, very soon, further up the road. So until then, take care of yourself and much love. So be kind to each other. We'll see each other again further up the road.